So today we are on not the last episode, the penultimate episode of Chasing Nick.
Calling the runner, Nick's the coach. Calling 1 sub 3. Nick's a 3-hour pacer, it makes sense. This is Chasing Nick.
Why is it the penultimate episode? Because whenever this goes out, I will be day or two before the big marathon race. And Nick, how's it going with yourself? How's the pacing training going? Is there training for pacing? Does it work like that? Are you nervous?
I wouldn't say I'm nervous. I'm actually really looking forward to it because I've done pacing before and really loved the experience. So I'm just looking forward to it. I'm in shape for the race. I was a little bit concerned that, would I be carrying some kind of injury that was going to prevent me from running what is still 26 miles. It doesn't matter how fast or slow or whatever you do it. It's still a long way. So whilst I'm always in probably, 240 to 245 shape for a marathon, I'm still concerned that something will happen along the way. But I seem to be good. The body's okay. Training's going well for kind of my own personal goals. So I'm hoping that I should be able to cope pretty well on Sunday. So I'm not worried about my body as much. There is pressure though, because people are relying on you to get sub 3. And I'll tell you what my biggest fear is that Belfast Marathon traditionally is a little bit long. I've done editions of it where the lead card's gone wrong and it's been a half a mile out, which is massive. So
I was there that day.
Yeah.
They said to me 1 mile to go, and I was like, 1 mile to go was back there,
Yeah, exactly.
I finished the marathon and I still haven't crossed the finish line yet. I've been there.
My Garmin, anyone who knows Belfast Marathon, my Garmin that day had me at the marathon just coming down the Ravenhill Road, and I was nowhere near it. I think it was 26.7 something that day. Anyway, hopefully that won't happen again. But when you're on really tight margins, if, as a pacer, if you don't build in some kind of buffer, if you are trying to cross the line at 2:59.59 and the race is a bit long, it could, that could end very badly. So that's what's maybe making me a little bit nervous, is just making sure that you buy enough time to build a little buffer in without burning people off. Because if you go out too hot, then people won't be able to keep up. So it's a fine line. So I'm not worried about whether I'm going to be able to get round. I'm saying that now. Who knows what will happen on the day? But there's that level of responsibility, and I want to get it right for people. It's not for me, it's for them. I'm there to kind of enjoy myself, but mostly help other people. So I just want to do the best job I can for those people who are trying to break 3 hours. So that's where the pressure's coming from. But physically, it should be fine. But this is, the final week. Colin, you are in your the proper taper. How's it going?
So we'll get into what a taper is. It's going okay, and you've alluded to time, and time for people is very important. Time for me, I suppose that's why this podcast isn't called Chasing 3. This is called Chasing Nick. Now, Chasing Nick is actually closer to 2.5 than 3. So, but if you know what I mean. So, I suppose time for me is something that we were chatting to beforehand, where yes, if I get 3 hours, it's brilliant. But there's been a lot of learnings along the way, and we'll jump into it on our final, suppose, breakdown review of how everything went, hopefully after this race. But I am feeling, I'm not going to lie, the past few weeks I've been going, my legs are tired. I'm feeling it. Like, how am I going to keep this pace? I think I could do half a marathon at this pace, but that's not really where the finish line goes. The finish line is another half after that. So the past week or two, I've been trying to build confidence, Nick, and you've sent me training plans, and I've kind of went out a wee bit hotter than the training plan. And I said, Nick, I'm building confidence. Is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? I don't know. But in the past week, Nick, my confidence is maybe jumped up a wee notch, where I feel, do you know what? I could maybe push, I could maybe get closer to this. So the training's been an experience. There's been started off dark, cold weather, got into I suppose good where I seen the pace increasing, where all of a sudden I seen these great developments. Then I got into the stage where my pace stopped increasing and maybe fatigue crept in. And then I got into the place in my headspace where I was going, this is going to be tough. And now I'm in the space where I'm getting a wee bit of confidence back. It's a taper week. I'm feeling good. And am I nervous? No, because I've been here before. But I don't want to throw caution to the wind and go, whatever it'll be. I still want to get basically cross the line the same time as you, Nick. And so no pressure on the pacers whatsoever. You know, you're brilliant. You're there to help, but you know, time is not the be all and end all. And I suppose that's a shortened version of where I've come from, where I'm to now. The pace has increased. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. And taper week. We're in taper week, Nick. Explain to us. I thought taper week, you stick your feet up and you stop running. I've actually found next taper week is slightly different. It doesn't feel like I'm doing nothing. You know, people from the outside probably look at my running and think, he's doing too much. What's your thoughts on taper? And like, you've done this before. You're a seasoned vet in this. You know what you're doing. Like, explain to me the taper.
Yeah, so I think it does depend on how fit you are, what your base level is. So your plan obviously has been built around somebody who is capable of running close to or under 3 hours. So that is slightly different to maybe somebody who's a beginner at this event. But let's take you specifically. So in essence, we need your body to still be able to be comfortable at the paces that we're going to need for race day, but without overly fatiguing yourself. So what you'll have noticed is that there's still some sessions in there which are quite intense, short, intervals with some higher pace. And then today, for example, a couple of miles or 4, if you're Colin, at race pace, or just under. And so that is just keeping the stimulus there so your body doesn't start to detrain, because the risk is for somebody who is, a marathoner who is pretty quick and has been doing quite a lot of mileage. If you turn off completely, your body will think, oh, great, well, I've done what I needed to do. And then even things like your metabolism of your, how your body uses its fuel stores and that kind of thing will alter. So you need to be quite careful that you don't turn into a totally detraining mode. So yes, it's less volume. You don't want to be using up all of your stored energy, your glycogen in your muscles and your liver. You don't want to be depleting yourself, and you don't want to get injured. So you're not pushing your body to its maximum, but what you are doing is just reminding it what it's going to have to do. So quite, some sessions are quite intense, but the general volume is a lot less. And really going into the next few days, I mean, today, really, we are now recording this on Tuesday. The race is on Sunday. There really isn't going to be any sessions between now and then. Yes, you'll be running, but you won't be hopefully using up any of your, not burning through any matches, so to speak. So yeah, you still want to keep running. You need to keep your body adapted to actually producing that result on the day, but you don't want to go too far. It is a fine line, and it is very different from one athlete to another, but this is my sort of tried and tested method for myself personally, but also what I found has worked with a variety of athletes. So hopefully it'll work okay for you. And I think you gave quite a potted history of the marathon training block. You start off thinking, oh my word, like, how is this possible? And then suddenly the sessions start becoming possible, but then you're really, really tired and you're thinking, well, I need rest now. And now you're in the taper phase where actually all that training that you banked is starting to come good. And mentally, you're questioning whether this is possible. And so you start to test yourself, which is a bit risky, because you just have to trust. You have to trust that it's there and let it out on race day. Don't let it out on the Friday before. So yeah, but
Yeah, so I've the past few ones I've been wearing my old carbon shoes as well. So I'm getting my body used to maybe carbon shoes. I know maybe the previous version, but taper week, yeah. So there is the running aspect to it, and if anybody's seen the US Office, you probably haven't, Nick, because you haven't watched TV since the 90s. When Saved by the Bell was new,
that's so true. Oh, what a show!
what a show! What a show! But there's a part where they have to do 5K, and the main guy, who's played by Steve Carell, starts carb loading and eating pasta before his race. Now, obviously, everything goes belly up, Pete Tong. He's literally, he can't run. He's ready to vomit. But taper week, you've talked about the training, but what about nutrition taper week? Like, what does that look like? So at the minute, it's not Huel, it's actually Alter Nutrition. It's a carb drink for after my run. I'm drinking a lot of the fluids. I am eating a lot more rice and a lot more pasta and maybe pizza. But no, I'm not like overindulging in carbs. Is there any idea of what you should eat, I suppose, during that week and before the race and on the morning of the race?
Yeah, so I think thoughts around this, my own and also in the wider running community, have probably shifted a bit in the last few years as our understanding of how we store and use fuel has changed a bit. So my advice really would be to slightly increase your carbohydrate intake over this week. You need to try and replace anything you're using during a training session. So absolutely refueling as soon as you're home and taking on those carb drinks. And just trying to make sure that when you get to race day, all of your glycogen stores and your muscles and your liver are nice and topped up, and you've got them at their maximum capacity without feeling bloated. I've definitely made that mistake in the past where, the old school kind of pasta parties and you eat as much as possible the night before and you feel sick the next day. I've had some shockers with that. But so yes, increasing carbohydrate intake a bit. I think the easiest way to do that I found is actually just to change the way your plate looks in terms of its fat, protein and carbohydrate content. So I'll maybe just reduce the fat and protein side for those sort of 4 to 5 days before the race and replace that with a fairly simple carbohydrate. Rice is great, nice and easily digestible, but you don't want anything with too much fiber in because, again, gut issues on race day. So look, I would say the taper week diet is not optimal in terms of your longevity, because my personal take on it is, especially for my intestinal system, which maybe isn't the best, I have to reduce the amount of vegetables and fruits and stuff I eat because those are high fiber, good for you, good for your gut health, but could cause you issues on race day. So I tend to simplify things with boring kind of beige stroke white carbohydrates. And yeah, so you've increased your carbohydrate content without overly stressing your gut with loads and loads of fiber. And a really good way to do that a couple of days leading into the race, especially in terms of hydration, is actually to use a carbohydrate drink, a bit like you've got there. The which one is that, like a Speed Dust or something?
So I actually ran out of my lemon soda flavor, so I had 1 scoop left. So it's 2 scoops Raspberry Rush, 1 scoop lemon soda. So it's kind of a raspberry lemon flavor. It's quite nice. Connor should really bring out a lemon raspberry flavor, a mix and match one, But anyway, yes, carb drinks. I'm not plugging Alter Nutrition. It's just they're tasty and
yeah,
they're full of carbs.
Other brands are available, absolutely. But yeah, so I use that. I think it's an easy way to take on a bit of extra carbohydrate. You can get electrolytes in there. You're getting your hydration as well. And again, it's easily absorbed. It's not adding any extra load to your gut. So definitely in that couple of days pre-race, I will often add in a carbohydrate drink just during the middle of the day to sip on. That is not something I do at any other time because it'll play havoc with your glucose levels in your blood and you'll get insulin spikes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a big fan of doing that in general day-to-day life and training, but pre-race, definitely, because come Sunday, you're going to be using all that stuff and you're not going to be worried about insulin spikes on the Saturday, when you're racing Sunday. So, so carbohydrate drinks, good way to do it. Simplifying your carbohydrate intake, reducing your fat and protein content. Again, that's not something you're going to do in the long term because, we all know how important those things are for your health and building muscle, etc. But the taper is different. It's its own entity. Your goal isn't on the next 6 months. Your goal is what is going to happen in those 3 hours ish on Sunday. So that's my take on the nutrition side of things. Avoid alcohol. And Colin, you're not a somebody who partakes particularly in that side of things anyway, but you hear a lot of people that go, maybe especially if they're going to a major marathon, they're in London on a Saturday night and they think, I'll just have a pint because it'll help me sleep. Save it for Sunday afternoon. Do not do it on Saturday afternoon. There is literally no benefit. It's only going to have a negative effect. So be boring, go to bed early, stay off social media. I am one for I put my phone into flight mode on Saturday, like the Saturday before a big race. The phone will go into flight mode because people are like pinging you, good luck, and that's great. But if you're trying to sleep and your phone's pinging all over the place, not ideal. So I'm just off grid for those that evening. Yeah.
That brings us to the morning of the marathon then. So I'm going to run through very quickly all these tips as much as I can remember. This is like a generation game where Nick's throwing these tips out and I'm trying to remember as they're going past. So morning of the marathon, you wake up, your kit's laid out. It's laid out the night before. Your kit's laid out. Maybe you've taken a picture, put it on your social media. I don't know what people do these days, but your kit's laid out. What's your sort of morning routine? What should you do? What could you do? What do you avoid?
Well, my theory is that you do not do anything new. You should have tested your race day breakfast. You should get to that Sunday morning and know exactly what you're eating. You should have bought it in advance. It's all sitting there ready to go. There's no decisions to be made. You are used to it. My personal thing is bread or a bagel. I will maybe sometimes, really treat myself and go for a bagel, but honey and banana, and that's it. And a black coffee. End of story. That's it. And then, so that will be taken 2 to 2.25 hours before the start of the race. And then I will take a carbohydrate drink to sip as I go, because you just feel like, especially with your race day nerves and stuff like that, your mouth's getting dry. It's all a stress response. You're probably not thirsty, but you just need to have something there that you can sip on. Make sure your sugar levels are just topped up nicely. You don't want to down a whole load of drink in one go because that'll mess you up. But just to sip it, so that by the time you get to the actual race start, you're not in any sort of energy deficiency. Everything is in as good a place as it can be. But I am very keen on people testing this as much as possible before race day. So certainly those longer weekend runs, marathon pace sessions, you should know what suits you. And if you don't know what suits you, then just keep it as easily sort of digestible as possible. Again, base stuff that is not maybe great for you in the long term, but your stomach can handle it. It's high carb, high sugars, and it's not going to cause you any gut distress. So don't do anything new.
Brilliant. Nick, I think that is enough information when we're talking about digest on an episode like this. And there we go. So come Sunday morning, I will be up. I will see you at the starting line, and my breakfast is a wee bit more complex than yours. The reason being, Nick, I've ate it I would say the past year I've had the same breakfast. I'm a creature of habit. Two eggs, 2 poached eggs, avocado, tomato, some spring onion on a bagel, put it all together, and just that's my breakfast. So that's what I'll be going with. So hopefully it'll be fine.
That sounds fantastic. I got to say, I quite like to eat that on a regular. Well, That sounds like something you'd order in a nice hotel or something.
Nick, I mean,
So
I can do it with me. I can do it with my eyes shut. I've got the poached eggs. You put them in. You put them in the same time as you put the bagel down. When all them's going, then all you do is you cut up your tomatoes. You have your avocado. You slice your avocado. Your things pop. You put them down. Your poached eggs go on top. Bang bang bosh, done. It's really simple.
yeah, the benefit for you is that how far is the start line from your house?
Far as the start line from my house. So this my wife will drop me off in the morning. And I've ran to the start line before. Is it 5 miles?
Yeah, it's close, isn't it? I mean, you are in your own house with your own kitchen, your own stuff. So the trouble with that is that when you are across the other side of the world, or actually anywhere, even just like when I've done London, you don't have those facilities to do that. So you have to work out, what is it that I can take with me? So most people, when they're doing a big marathon, well, not most people, but a significant number of people are going to be traveling. And so they have to be able to work out what is it they've got access to on that morning that they can consistently, be sure that they are going to have. And that's where having like a gourmet poached eggs and avocado on bagel, whilst ideal, in a lot of ways, it is tricky to replicate from your 10 square foot hotel room. So yeah, that's the only thing I would say.
You make a really fair point. I'm sitting here thinking, hey, I've got this down to a T. This is everything. But if I was ever to do a marathon in Dublin, which I don't know, my wife's going to do it, I could end up being hooked into this one. I'm not going to get my poached eggs and avocado. I'm only doing Belfast Marathon. I'm not doing any more after this. Nick, thanks for coming on today. Thanks for getting all your tips. And I will slice this down into some form of tippable advice before the event and get it up and share it with people, because some of them tips are just brilliant. And do you know what? The best thing about the best advice is that you're telling people stuff that's pretty obvious. It isn't new. It isn't fancy. There's no quirks. There's nothing special to it. It's just good, solid advice that you already know, but you just need Nick to push it further in your brain to actually say, don't overcomplicate it.
Well, and as ever, all this stuff comes from me having made so many mistakes over the years and had some shocking experiences. And so, yeah, I've just distilled it down into a few basic things. And I like things to be nice and easy with as few decisions as possible, so that you're just not stressed about that stuff. Because I'm shocking for getting stressed in the week before, certainly the couple of days before. I'm worried enough about it as it is. I don't want to be thinking about food and all that stuff. So, nice and boring, nice and easy, reduce decision fatigue, focus on the running.
Brilliant. And Nick, as ever, thank you so much for all the tips. Thanks for the training. Thanks for the advice. And Nick, I will be chasing you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday.
Calling the runner, Nick's the coach. Calling 1 sub 3. Nick's a 3-hour pacer, it makes sense. This is chasing Nick.